Hey guys, this is Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today we're going to talk about what we're doing for a lower body exercise. Now, traditionally today would be a dynamic day, but because we just got done peaking for the 24 reps with 520, we're going to back it down and we're going to work on some volume, some hypertrophy, and drop the CNS. So you guys will see this and me talk about this a ton. Law of accommodation basically states if you use the same stimulus for too long, you will no longer create a greater training effect. Okay? With that being said, when we go into off seasons, which is what I consider right now, which the off season manual is a great ticket for people that have never really seen a true off season training. We're in another off season now that I'm not really recording. I'm just kind of taking a break from the monotony of writing things down as far as an actual training program. But what I did find is that usually when I cut back down into an off-season training protocol, I start focusing on one big thing: isolateral balance. So basically what I'm going to try to do is make sure that the left side and the right side are firing as equal as possible. Now for me that's very difficult because my right leg is 9 millimeters shorter than my left, and I have to wear a special orthotic in my right shoe due to my car accident. If you don't know about that, I talk a lot about that in the powerlifting manual. But because I have that slight imbalance, I'm always fighting left and right imbalances, even though you really can't see it in my squat or my deadlift. Trust me, it's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide, okay, how do I create balance between the left and right side? Well, the first thing I do is separate it. So instead of doing a normal belt squat, we do a single leg belt squat. Okay, and we have the back foot up on a foam pad, as you can see in the video. Now what this is going to do is make me separate the left and right side, but there's another key thing that it's doing that I really like, and that's stretching the hip flexor. So if you watch the back leg, it's actually breaking up that hip flexor, because when you're squatting, you don't ever really stretch that hip flexor past. So what I'm trying to do is drive that knee backward and stretch that hip flexor out, which is increasing my hip mobility, but also reducing my hip mileage. And I've done it for 10 years. I know that it works really well. It's just painful, okay? But I'm gonna separate it now. I'm gonna do 12 each side because we're working on a timing, okay? So we're gonna work on that, okay? Now the next thing is we need to separate the left and right hamstring. So we're gonna do a dumbbell alternate toe touch, okay? Now this allows me to train the right and the left side separately, but I'm crossing midline with the dumbbell, which is allowing me to work the TVA or the transverse abdominis while I'm doing my hamstring work, okay? Now the last thing that we're gonna do is a side plank to leg raise. Side plank to leg raise is gonna fire the oblique, the TVA, and it's gonna hit that side of that IT band, getting me ready to sumo deadlift. You do not see this exercise done very often. Now to show you all the amounts that we're doing on that, you're gonna have to join Patreon and actually see the actual workout, okay? So now, there's something that I was driving home from Jeff Cavalier's training seminar that I did out in Connecticut a couple weeks ago. And I was like, you know what we've never done? We've never done deficit ladder deadlifts. So what I thought about doing was start off high where the mobility needs to be increased, then drop it down a little, and then drop it to the floor. Now each set that I'm doing, I'm going a little wider each time to work on more hip mobility and again, my weaknesses. So even though I don't train my quads super hard, I'm always fighting quad dominance, and I have to get the glutes and hamstrings to play their part. By doing that, the deficit ladder deadlifts are taxing because I'm doing a certain amount of reps at each height. That is creating immense amounts of fatigue. So if we're doing that many reps, it causes a huge issue in GPP. So if I'm doing like a 3-inch, then a 1-inch, and then a floor deadlift, then what I'm having to do is I'm not really getting any rest in between those, okay? What that's causing is fatigue and capacity. So when you first get done with doing something insanely powerful or insanely strong, you need to go back down to your base and you need to build your pyramid, okay? So we need to have GPP in order for us to have SPP. So SPP for most of us that are watching this is going to be in the form of strength. okay? We want to get stronger, okay? But the problem is, to get stronger, we have to get fitter. And that's something that a lot of people miss, okay? So if you'd like to see more about how we lay out this training, one, the entire workout is on Patreon, both at 4 times a week and 3 times a week. And we also talk a lot about this in all the different manuals split up. So Power Building talks about this, Hypertrophy Manual talks about this, and the Off-Season Manual talks a lot about isolateral training. If you want to know more about this as well, I would also visit what Mike Boyle talks about with training. He's regarded as one of the godfathers of training, especially in the 2000s, and we had to read his stuff in college. And I actually just co-spoke with him at Adrian-X's conference. So it was interesting for him to not only show us what he was talking about, but also show the research. So I hope to see you guys on Patreon, and we'll dive into this some more.